If you have a mother-in-law who disrespects you, it's actually not your mother-in-law that has failed you, it is your husband. A mother-in-law can only be as toxic towards you as your husband allows. A lot of husbands will say, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. It's just how she is. But the fact is, the boat has already been rocked by a toxic mother-in-law. A husband who values his wife and wants his marriage to last will not tolerate his family disrespecting his wife. And the truth is, over time, it is very hard, if not impossible, for a wife to respect her husband if he can't even stand up to his own mother. And what I've seen in so many situations, a mother-in-law will make passive-aggressive remarks towards the wife, or blatantly cruel, rude comments towards the wife, or just consistently and purposefully disagree with what the wife values, with how she thinks, with her opinions. But here's the thing, a mother-in-law that is very dysfunctional actually gets a kick out of the fact that she can do that to her daughter-in-law because she knows her son is too weak to stand up for his wife. But while I get asked often by women, how do I deal with a toxic mother-in-law? Your husband should be. A husband should be protecting his wife from his own family. And a man who can't even do that is a coward. A man who is willing to risk the peace in his home with his wife because he's afraid to confront his mom, I don't understand it. Couldn't be me, because for me, if you disrespect my spouse, I'll put you in your place.
I can't hold it in anymore.
What?
I know that you want a paternity test on my daughter.
You told her?
You told her?
Actually, I just did the test.
Hell yeah, I'm happy that she knows. Now I gotta start praying for the DNA results so my son can know the truth and he can leave her ass and he can come home with me.
You think that I'm unfaithful to your son?
Well, Kimberly don't look nothing like my son.
She looks like me. I'm her mother. They're not all going to come out looking the same. That's not how
Why
genetics
not?
work.
Okay, but what if, okay, let's say you get him, and if it's not my son, then what?
That's
Then
impossible.
what?
That's impossible. And once you get the results, you're going to feel stupid.
I got to just stay quiet, because I know me, I know the way I am, and I tend to get pissed off right away.
I don't even want my kids around you. Because you don't even think that it's your grandchild.
All right,
so I don't
all
even
right,
know.
guys,
I don't even know how
guys.
you're gonna treat
Hey,
Kimberly.
Look,
because you think that
look,
she's not
look,
yours.
hold up, hold
and I feel like you're
Hey,
treating.
you
know
who she is.
Robert,
I'm just trying to come in. Look, listen.
I just
Guys,
feel like that's like the most disrespectful thing you could do, to question.
disrespectful how?
Because you're questioning if it's even his daughter.
She says that she's 100% that's my son's daughter. Okay, well, if you're 100%, you would have never got the DNA done. But she did.
Now you're messing with my family.
Mom.
Now you're
Mom.
like trying to sabotage our family.
Sabotage?
Yeah. You're trying
Mom.
to break
Mom.
our family apart.
Okay,
that's,
Mom.
That's
Hey,
I feel like
Chrissy,
that's her goal.
Look, Mom, I 100% believe that that's my daughter.
Why
But
she
this
look like-
paternity test, I didn't realize how messed up it was.
It's
until
damaging
after.
for me
It damaged.
and the
There's so
baby.
much damaged already, Mom.
I don't trust you around my kids.
Never marry a man that the family does not love you. Most especially the mother, the sisters, you will be in big shit. Listen to me and listen well. This has nothing to do with spirituality or prayer or whatever. It is common sense. To him, brain is given. Sense is expected. Blood is thicker than water. The biggest problem in marriages today, relationships today, are mother-in-laws and sister-in-laws. Now, before you crucify me, listen to me very carefully. There are good mother-in-laws and good sister-in-laws. But I can tell you, 90% of divorces, problems in relationship, problems in marriages are sponsored by mother-in-laws and sister-in-laws. If the mother of that man does not love you, run for your dear life. Run for your dear life. My name is Apostle Okose Emmanuel. I approve this message. Wisdom is profitable to direct. Blood is thicker than water. God bless you. Shalom.
would you do if your mother-in-law hated you so much that she refuses to see her grandkids if you're around? In fact, she's told her son, you just come over with the kids, but leave her at home. As a family, you've decided, no, if you're going to see our kids, you have to respect us or at least be civil. And you're game, but she's not. Not only is she not, she goes around to your extended family, people in your small community, and like just cries to them saying how you won't let her see her grandkids. And you're wondering, okay, we can hold the boundary with her, but what do we do with everybody else? If this was happening to me, I would tell them the truth, but I would also consistently invite her over. So I wouldn't play into her antics. Every time I would normally invite my mom or my mother-in-law over, I would continue to extend the invite. And then when you see people around, if they mention anything, you can say, I really don't know what's going on. We invited her over last Tuesday.
How could a pumpkin pie cause so much drama in one little family? When my husband and I first started dating, I thought it would be a nice gesture to bring over baked goods and food and things like that whenever we would visit. And one time I brought over my pumpkin cream pie, and my mother-in-law found my father-in-law in the kitchen in the middle of the night devouring this pie. It is that good. And she barely even got a slice for herself. And when he looked up from his pie, he said to her, when we open a restaurant one day, Jessica is going to be the chef. And oh my God, why did he do that to me? Because that put a massive target on my back. And I never heard the end of those comments. Oh, well, Jessica's such a good cook. You should just have her cook everything for you. While this pie did not cause us to have an absolute falling out, it definitely contributed to the fact that my mother-in-law hates me. So without further ado, let's give this a taste. I know what you're thinking. This pie better be phenomenal if it made your mother-in-law hate you. It is. But of course it's good. I made it. Make this for your family. If not on Thanksgiving, make it for Christmas or next year or just on a random Tuesday because it's delicious and you won't be sorry. Follow along for more aggressive tutorials. Get off the table.
Yeah, I want to tell you that it's not your fault, that your mother-in-law doesn't like you. But if I told you that unequivocally it wasn't your fault, then I'd sound like every other woman in one of those estranged mothers of sons Facebook groups. But I'm pretty confident it's not your fault, because you're an agile thinking person, you're a kind person, and you tried your best to make that relationship work. The parts that aren't your fault for sure are the fact that you have boundaries, that you hold firm, the fact that you weren't willing to accept mistreatment. Those aren't your fault. And honestly, if my assumptions are correct and it isn't your fault, I promise you, although she thinks and you may think and other people might think that if you were just a little bit different, or if it would have been that other person he used to date, that she'd be happy and everything would have been fine, I can also tell you with reasonable confidence that it probably wouldn't have been, because all of those other fictitious people or real people, they aren't in this same spot in the same committed relationship with him that you are now. If he never felt about them the way he feels about you, then she can't confidently say that it would have been better if it would have been somebody else. So I know it sucks, but it's not your fault.
Women who are struggling with getting along with your mother-in-law or your boyfriend's mom, she just doesn't like you and you just don't like her, no matter what you try, it's not working. A few things you need to know. First thing is she already has his heart. You're trying to win his heart. She already has it. So she knows something you don't know, or she has something you don't have yet. And wisdom says, humble yourself, whether she's right or wrong, and be wise enough to get to the end goal. That's the first thing. Second thing, now the Bible does say he's supposed to leave her and cleave to you once you guys get married. If y'all are not married yet, you should not be giving him husband privileges, because you will not receive wife benefits until you become a wife. So you're not going to find it in the Bible where it says leave your mother and cleave to your girlfriend, right? Thirdly, humble is the way you catch more flies with sugar and honey. I remember when my husband and I got married. He was not a mama's boy, but he was a grandmama's boy. So I came into the marriage wanting to be close to her, wanting to learn from her, wanting to hear stories from her, about his childhood, learn her recipes and all of that stuff. I came in as a student. When you come in humble and you come in low, they may, have some issues with you, but some of that may be on them, because her mother-in-law might not have liked her. She may have been abused or neglected or rejected by her mother-in-law harshly, and and she never healed or recovered from that. So if she's only had one mother-in-law, she only knows how to be what she's seen. If she doesn't have the Holy Ghost, and then she's not led of the Spirit of God. So I want you to consider that. Here's another thing, and probably the ugliest and most uncomfortable part about this. She may be right. If she loves him, most Christian women want their sons to marry other women who have a relationship with God, a woman who can cook and keep the house clean, take care of him, a woman who's hardworking, who's loyal, who's not in his life as a gold digger or user. And so, my advice to you would be to check yourself. Find out what her concerns are, and then really be honest with yourself when you assess it. Are her concerns valid? Are you a little too loose? Is it that you can't cook, or you're not a hard worker, you're a gold digger, or you don't really have a relationship with God, you're just going to church because you met a fine man? Like, we can see through stuff a mile away, those of us who have adult children. I try not to be difficult with anybody that our kids date. I try to make it easier for them to mesh together, because at the end of the day, they're marrying them and not me. But I do share where my advice is invited. Mothers, back off, because there was a time when I overstepped boundaries in my kids' relationships. I don't do that anymore. Back off. And to the women who are trying or aspiring, don't give up. Keep fasting, keep praying.
I don't know. Crazy shit's been happening and I don't know why. Stop asking me.
Tell me your in-laws don't like you without telling me your in-laws don't like you. I'll go first. My mother-in-law, who is the queen of an African country, told me I had the conversational instincts of a Turco. At first I thought, oh, great, my first compliment. And then I looked it up. Turco, a noisy species noted from their piercing calls from which their names are derived. Turco.
My mother-in-law has hated me since day one because I grew up in a single-family household, and she told my husband that he deserved to be with someone who came from a two-parent household. For 4 years, I bit my tongue trying to get her to like me. When we got engaged, she tried to dictate my whole wedding, not offering to pay for anything. When I decided I didn't want kids at the wedding, she flipped and told me I was selfish, that the wedding isn't for me, that I'm tearing her family apart, and that I'm ruining her life. Day of the wedding, she causes a scene because my mom danced with me and my husband, stealing her spotlight. My husband and her get into a fight, he storms away, and then she pushes me. I push her off, and then she lunges at me, going for my throat. She's literally trying to choke me at my wedding. All because I try to grab my husband and say that this was not the time for a fight with his mom. She gets escorted out by security. Fast forward to now. She tries to communicate with my husband, and my husband ignores her. Now he wants her back in his life. I don't know what to do. This lady put her hands on me at our wedding. I tried explaining to my husband how much she's hurt me, and he says he understands, but that's his mom. I don't know if I should let my husband talk to her again because I don't want him to resent me, but she crossed so many boundaries and she doesn't see what she did wrong. And she refuses to apologize to me.
What toxic mother-in-laws or insecure mother-in-laws don't realize about their daughter-in-laws is that your daughter-in-law is the one that's reminding your son to call you. Your toxic daughter-in-law is the one that reminds your son of your birthday. Your toxic daughter-in-law is the one that reminds your son to take care of you and to visit you. In fact, your toxic or insecure daughter-in-law is the one who is cooking and planning for your meals when you come over instead of ordering out like your son suggested. Your toxic daughter-in-law is the one who has taught your son all the things that he needed to learn to treat women really well. Your toxic daughter-in-law is the one who plans all the outings, who plans all the work for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, Eid, whatever it is. What insecure mother-in-laws also don't realize is that your toxic daughter-in-law was the one that wanted to build a friendship with you that was based off of knowing you, not off of the relationship that we have gotten legally as mother-in-law, daughter-in-law. Your toxic daughter-in-law is the one that prioritizes seeing all the families because she knows that when your son argues with you, you are gonna believe that it's on her, that she's the one who's training him. Your toxic daughter-in-law is also the one that gets blamed every time your son finally says what he's been dying to say for all years. It's also your daughter-in-law that's trying to build a good relationship between your son and yourself by teaching him the essential communication skills that he needs.
I do not get along with my mother-in-law. Her and I got along great until the day my now husband proposed. She was upset that he didn't tell her, and that was somehow my fault. A month before our wedding, we sat down with my mother-in-law and father-in-law to talk some things through. Unfortunately, she was not mature enough to have that conversation, and the next day texted my husband a huge message of all the things I have ever done wrong to upset her that she couldn't bring up the night before. Fast forward to 1 year later when our first baby was born. We had made it very clear that we wouldn't be having anyone at the hospital, and I told my husband's family they could come in a few days once we're settled. On day 3, my mother-in-law texts my husband. This became a large text fight and then a 3-hour conversation guilt-tripping him. You guys are at home exhausted with a newborn, and she's worried about herself. We were supposed to spend Christmas with my in-laws, but due to my dad passing, I told my husband that we needed to be with my mom and my siblings this year. She exclaimed that we spent Christmas with my family last year, and that is unfair to her.
11 years ago, I came up with this boundary with my mother-in-law that has transformed into this beautiful tradition that she has yearly with our kids. She always would show up when the kids were little with bags of onesies and sleepers and food from her pantry, just trying to help, like give us gifts of, just helping us not have such a financial burden. And I caught that right away. I'm like, okay, she's just trying to help, but her help is really overwhelming us with clutter and stuff. So I came up with this agreement with her that if you can stop bringing stuff that we don't need right now, I promise the moment they need something, I will ask you. Snow boots, just any big items that we just couldn't afford or it would put financial strain on us. And she agreed to it. And her and I always had this agreement over the years. Well, now, every year, she takes the kids one-on-one and they do this huge shopping day, which the kids look forward to every single year. And it's just this beautiful, beautiful thing.